How do you learn to speak a language so you can be understood? This is Susan Broder from Speak Languages and Travel the World, here to help you improve your English with minimum effort and maximum benefit. So, how can you learn to speak a language so you can be understood? Unfortunately, many of us don't have the courage to speak a language because when we try speaking it, people won't always understand us. And so this is the first thing that blocks us from speaking. Most people learn a language to be able to communicate with the local population, whilst others learn it for business purposes. But in either case, the main objective is to be able to speak, to be able to communicate. Traditional methods tend to focus on the written word, but the spelling will often distract us from the true pronunciation, and even contractions are very difficult to learn only from the written word. In fact, my best students are always those who haven't learnt to read yet properly. An example is a 5-year-old who'd been learning English with me for quite a while, and so I asked him one day to colour in some balloons, and he'd started learning to read. He was between 5 and 6, so he coloured in the red, the blue, and then it came to green, and he looked at it and said, "But what colour is green?" And I said, well, can't you think of a word that's similar to that? And then after repeating grr, then he said, oh, green. But it wasn't automatic for him because he'd learnt the word green and had no idea how it was spelt. Therefore, he just said it correctly, he understood it, but he had no idea how it was written and wasn't distracted by the spelling. Now, there's no real right way to learn a language, but in my personal experience, I've noticed that when you listen and repeat some words or sentences, particularly words in context, so complete sentences, even if short, you'll be able to repeat them without knowing how they're written, and you'll say them absolutely correctly. This promotes your pronunciation, it promotes good comprehension, and finally also boosts your self-confidence, because if you can make yourself understood, you'll be that much more likely to speak. Good pronunciation and the fact that others understand you will promote your self-confidence. I started learning Hungarian a short while ago with an app called 50languages.com. This is perfect for beginners because it has a function where you can listen and repeat sentences without necessarily having to look at them. And despite comprehensible input being an important factor, I spent time just listening and repeating whilst doing other activities like cooking or household chores, or even in the car. So listening and repeating sentences I have had no idea what the meaning was, but over time I managed to pick up and understand a few things, just because there were a few things that I could pick up from other languages. And slowly I started to piece things together in my mind as a puzzle. Then occasionally I would sit down and write out the sentences I had been learning, and then I went back just to listening and repeating. This has made an incredible difference to my pronunciation. Recently I noticed that the further I go along with these, the better I get. And of course, I noticed many words when I went back to read them that I was really surprised about, because I thought they were two separate words, and I discovered it was one word, or vice versa. One word was actually divided into two separate words, but I said it just like the speaker had said it, and so I pronounced it correctly without being distracted by the spelling. As you progress in language learning, there are other apps and courses which can offer you a higher level of a language, and therefore you can continue this practice but at a higher level, and their comprehensible input becomes more important, of course. I experimented this same method many years ago with Spanish. Now, Spanish was easier for me because I already had a background in other Latin-based languages, and therefore it wasn't as difficult for me to put together the puzzle and understand what I was saying before really looking at the meaning of the vocabulary and the sentences. However, with this method, I became fluent in Spanish, and I was able to speak on the phone, understand people, also in quite complicated situations. So I was very proud of myself, and I realized that this method of listening and repeating rather than starting with the written word was very, very effective. So to sum up, I would say that listening and repeating vocabulary, and particularly sentences, complete sentences, before ever looking at the written word is the best way to get the courage up to go out there and speak and see that people will understand you, and therefore it'll boost your confidence and you'll be more likely to speak in public and then learn the written word subsequently. I hope this was useful for you, and if you haven't already done so, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can be notified the next time I upload a video. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye!